Our next speaker, Sera Davidow, lives in Western Massachusetts with her husband and 2 children. She has worked as a leader with the Western Mass Recovery Learning Community since its conception in 2007, and recently completed production of a new film called Beyond the Medical Model. As part of her work there, Sera identifies as a survivor of trauma and of the psychiatric system. Sera Davidow.
Okay, I'm going to try and keep this short if for no other reason than I can no longer feel my feet. Okay? So I just want to reflect briefly that last time I was at a protest with Daniel, Sean, and some of the other people out there, it was pouring rain. Now it is freezing. But I just want to keep remembering that the force, the torture, the things that are happening to people in hospitals don't stop because of the cold and the rain. So thank you for being here. So I also want to recognize that I'm not alone from Western Mass. We came down because the same things are happening in Massachusetts, and frankly, it doesn't matter where it's happening, it's still happening to people. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who came from Western Massachusetts and from the recovery learning community there. So I want to share that I was given my first psychiatric diagnosis when I was 16. And that was also the age that I was given my first psychiatric drug. I was given my 6th psychiatric diagnosis and somewhere in the neighborhood of my 12th psychiatric drug when I was 21. That was also the age of my first involuntary hospitalization. And you know, they don't call it involuntary, they call it voluntary because, you know, they said, hey, if you don't do this, we will force you, but right now it's still a choice. And so, okay, so I call that involuntary hospitalization. The reality is that I survived emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, and instead of recognizing that it made sense that I was having trouble in my world and being present, they told me that I had a chemical imbalance that would require me to have treatments for the rest of my life. And as I stand here today, I can tell you that it was non-compliance that saved my life. Without my non-compliance, I can tell you that I wouldn't have my job, my house, or my life. The kids that you've seen running around here, 2 of them are mine. They would not exist if not for my non-compliance. If not for my non-compliance, I would not be here talking to you today because I would not have my voice. As I stand here today, I can tell you that I have rejected all of my psychiatric diagnoses. I am on no psychiatric drugs, and I set foot in hospitals only to help others who are still locked and forced to be there. And there is no person and no law that I will ever allow to tell me that it needs to be any different. How can people cry so many tears for the lives lost in these well-publicized tragedies and yet be asked to turn our backs on the thousands of children and adults who are kept out of our sight but are losing their rights and their lives on a daily basis? Oh, was that? That was the system saying, yeah, okay. People in the mental health system are dying, as Greg said, on average 25 years younger. That can't be said enough. It's happening. People are dying, and we are expected to believe that forcing more people into that system will save lives. It just doesn't make sense. So if we know that those people who have been diagnosed are actually less likely to commit violent crimes, if we know that people who do lash out often feel somehow... Okay. Thank you. If we know that people who do lash out often do so because they feel isolated and disconnected and alienated from their communities, if we know that forced treatment often hurts, isolates, and alienates, and if we know that at least some of the treatments that they would force are killing people, and we do know these things, by the way, then why on earth can we make the claim that forced treatment would somehow help? It just does not make sense. So as I stand here today as a survivor, an advocate, and a mother, I know that we cannot allow the labeling, the drugging, and the force to continue. This is not the world that I want these kids who are running around here or anyone's children to grow up in. Connecticut, where I was born and spent most of my childhood, is one of only 6 states that does not allow for forced outpatient commitment. Massachusetts, where I live now, is one of the other 6. Thank you. And as I stand here today, I beg of you to ignore all the lines of the cities and the states and anything that might divide us, and just stand together and tell them that we will not comply. Thank you.